Hey everybody, Carl here. And for the Patreon folks here, got a real treat. I think we're in the guitar world, and I've got the low bass just down to a D. So E's down a whole step. The rest we're just thinking in the key of D. But we're doing a nice old Norman Edmonds fiddle tune that I put some words to. And I'll give you the words there and a little chord chart maybe with that. But also, we're going to focus mainly on playing the instrumental version. But I will give you something to think about just in this tuning and making up arrangements. Just thinking of two-string chords, which is one of my big favorite things to do. So just play your D chord for a second. And we'll do a pretty basic, just kind of a low, just try to find a D bass. Could be a drone for all the chords. You're going to have D, G, and A in this basically. But just instead of the full D chord, let's just think of that third and second string note. So it looks like that, just doing that, leaving the first string out of it. And I'm going to play that. There's one of my Ds. We're going to go up with inversions of that for a second. And I'm picking the sixth string for a bass. My next D chord is going to go up to the 7th fret straight across like an A shape. And my last shape is going to be way up to the 11th and 10th fret, slanting the other way from the first one. There's my 3 Ds. So let's just try that one time, picking the low bass. Right, that's the bottom of D, 2nd fret, 3rd fret, from the 3rd to 2nd string, 7 and 7. And then we got, from the 3rd to 2nd string, 11 and 10. So let's try it one time. D, D, and D. Okay, so those same 3 shapes are going to be used for the G and A chord, and depends on where you are, which one you want to use. Let's try the G. The G down here is going to be, let's play that D one more time. 7, 7, and then keep that shape and scoot down to the 3rd fret, and you got your G. Okay, that's the 4th fret and 3rd fret. Then you're going to go to 7 and 8, and the straight one up here. Right, and then the A chord is just going to be that shape, straight across 12 down to 2, and then you got 6 and 5, and then you're going to have 9 and 10. So any of those are going to work for this song, and I'll give you the progression. It's going to be like just staying and playing the D chord. The words are, as I go through each day and so often lose my way, trials and darkness sometime block the sun. And the way the chords go on that first part is like, as I go through each day and so often lose my way. Throw a little G in there. Then I'm going to go to G. Trials and darkness and an A sometimes block the sun. Does that again. Tears and sadness I see as I onward journey, but I'll leave my woes behind, kingdom come. So that's the verse pretty much. So let's just try it without me, and we're going to get into the instrumental here in a moment. But I'm just going the D chord, the first shape, then 7 and 7. Then I go up to that 11 and 10. But then I'm going to change from that D to the straight across 12 and back. Okay? So often lose my way. Then I keep that shape, take it down to the G, and you can use that drone, D again, and then scoot it up to A with maybe the A bass, the 5th string open. And then that straight 7 and 7. That's beautiful. So I'll try that again with those words. Okay, so as I go through each day and so often lose my way, trials and darkness sometimes block the sun. Tears and sadness I see as I onward journey, but I'll leave my woes behind, kingdom come. That's the verse. Now the chorus, or second part, however you want to look at it, it starts on a G chord. So we're going to use those same 3 shapes, and these are going to be pretty crucial for playing our melodic version, our instrumental version. So it's going to be very helpful. The G chord will go down to that 4th and 3rd fret, and we could just use the drone. It does that G, and it's going to go up to the next G, 7 and 8, and then back to a D, same shape. Stay there a minute. It does the G again. This time it's going to be quicker. G and D, a little quick measure there. Then you're back to the first thing. So here's what happens on the start of that chorus. Kingdom come, toil and strife will be over, all passed by. Bonds of suffering and chains undone. Loved ones waiting at the door. Jubilation's my reward. I will join them evermore. Kingdom come. Isn't that pretty? Let's try that one more time. So that's just the G chord without the singing just for a second. But think of the melody. G and G down to D. G again, G and a quick G and back to D and back to the first theme. D, climb to 7, 7, 11, 10. Do the quick G if you like. Down to G and A and a D. Okay, so just think about those shapes for a second. Those are great 2-string, 2 out of 3 notes work great for finding melodies and things. And what we should think about, one last before I get into playing the instrumental version, the root, the name of your D is on that 2nd string with that the bottom of your D chord. If you played a full D chord, that middle string of the 3 fretted notes. So there's a D, root top, we could call it, on the thinner string. This has the 7 and 7 has the D in the 3rd string, so that's the root bottom. And then we go up to this 11, 10. We don't have a root at all. It's got the other 2 notes of the chord. You'd have to get that 10th fret 1st string, or of course we're playing the low D all the time, getting the drone. So just remember those 3 shapes: root top, root bottom, and rootless. Not ruthless, but rootless. So let's go ahead though and start working on playing the melody. And before I do that, one last thing for arranging. Sometimes you can use those shapes and just descend, like go right down. You know, D, A, G, and D. And then G, A. Let's just see if that would work for the first part. I'm just going to try it one time. As I go through each day and so often lose my way, trials and darkness sometimes block the sun. Sort of works. So you could try that approach too, a descending chord pattern. I'm basically just thinking of D, A, and G, and you know, starting in a good spot and descending and going back up, finding that G to A at the end. So let's start working on our melody though. So we're going to work on that that shape. That 7 and 7 is going to be a crucial starting point. We're going to slide on the 3rd string, maybe from 6 to 7, for that little pickup. Then I'm going to catch that. I'm going to use my little finger and get that other note, 7 and 7, and I'm going to put my 1st finger back on the 5th fret to get this. There's our first phrase. So I'm sliding. You can slide further. I'm going from 6 to 7. Then I get my little D chord we had, picking the bass. My bass pattern I've got on this is going to be, is doing like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. And you can do that a lot of different ways. You could spread it out longer or just hit one bass note. So experiment with the bass, but here's what I've got. Have a little pull off from 7 to 5, little finger to 1st finger, and put it back down, and then a pinch. So basically in finger picking, you have pinches and after the thumb notes together, right? Like right together, together, or after. So right now, here's the pattern on the first phrase. Slide, pick that 3rd string note twice, then I got a pinch on 6 and 2, and a bass by itself on the 4th string. We're alternating the bass. Then I have that pull off, 7, 5, 7. So like, here's 2 measures to make more sense. Slide. And then just, there's our D phrase where we change position. So I'll do it a couple more times. As I go through each day. And so, then I'm going to scoot up to my other D we did way up here, that 11 and 10. We add a little color note in there from 10 to 12. You're going back and forth from that 10, 12, 10, 12, and again I'm picking the bass, 6, 4. So let me do those 2 phrases together. As I go through each day and so often lose my way. I'm going to keep going, then I just go ahead and do it. You can let your thumb glide over and get that, you still have that D chord, picking the 3rd string and the 2nd string. Then we're going to change to our string set. So we're getting on a different string set. I'm on 10 and 12 from the 1st to 2nd string, and I'm picking the 3rd string for my G. And my melody's going to go from 12. So I'm getting I'm going to my higher string set, which sounds different, but it's the melody we need right where we are. So, and then I go down to this. Is 7 from the 4th string, 7, 6 on the 3rd, and 7. I'm using my little fingers. And that's really kind of a jazzy A. And then I go down to the 5th fret, 5, 6, and 5. And you might want to borrow that. And then your little finger pull off. and I'm going down to a D sound with 3 strings, and a bar and A. So let me do that whole first part. And you'll have a tab to work on. So take it slow and just as you learn the melody, even just doing the chord backup we were doing, that might be a good way to get the words and you can sing it and get the melody in your head. So here's the whole first part, nice and slow. Change string sets. So that last little phrase is just that the 4th fret, just play your D chord one time, and you're just getting rid of the 1st string, 2nd fret, and putting it in the bass. So you pivot around and get your 2nd finger on the 3rd fret, 2nd string, and your 3rd finger gets the 4th fret. So you're changing. You just pluck that, those 3, and then you bar 2, 2, 2 on 4, 3 and 2 strings, and do a little roll, and you got that open bass with those D chords. So one more time on the first part. Second part is easier, and it gets back to that same phrase, so it's kind of nice. So here's the first part one more time. Slide, the D chord, and a bass, pull off, change up to the positions, and high strings, that D chord, A with a roll, and you repeat that. You just kind of focus on the melody if you like. Kingdom come. Now the second part's going to go to that G chord, so we're using that 3rd string, and we're going up to that G chord, which is 4 and 3. 4th fret, 3rd string. 2nd string is the 3rd fret. So that's our first G chord, and again we're doing the same bass pattern, 6, 4. So it's bass wise 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that just seemed to work pretty good. So I've got the G chord with a kind of using 2 strings with a thumb, the bass, and I go up to that other G, which is 7 and 8, and a little roll, and the open 2nd string sneaks us back down. So I'm gonna do that again. Here's the first. A kingdom come, toil and strife. Right? Then the next phrase is going to be the 2nd fret, 3rd string, and the bass. So I'm kind of pivoting on that 1st finger and using the 4th fret and the 2nd fret on the 3rd and over to the 4th fret, 4th string. And the bass is still happening. Listen to that one more time. And it climbs back up to that G again. The G, the higher G, then the open string, and that's that quicker jump. And then we get a little straight there. Okay? That's halfway through the second part. Then we're really going to go back to the first melody, but I'm going to play it on the low strings just to make it a little more variety there. So here's that, and I'll keep going this time. So, kingdom come, toil and strife will be over, all pass by. Bonds of suffering and chains undone. Then I go low here. 4th string, slide to 4th. Dramatically, I go back up to our D, and I'm using the 4th string with the low bass, kind of climbing up to that high area. And our first phrase we did, right? I'll do the second part one more time, and we'll wind up there. But you got a lot to work on. But I'll give you the words with the chords. So think about just backing it up with the easy chord backup, and then trying to play instrumental. I think would be a nice arrangement. You sing it with the easy backup, and then you do the instrumental and come back in maybe with that last little tag. So here's the second part one more time there. So more, kingdom come. So drop D is a great tuning for a lot, of course, D tunes and songs. And think about those 2-string chords and how, maybe just shifting to that second, third string, we really get a lot of melody there. But we went to the first two a little bit, and we went down to that lower 4th string some. So they all have a nice characteristic. So enjoy drop D and especially Kingdom Come. And work on that and try to go jump back on the fiddle video and back Aaron up there. You'll do better than I did probably. So hope you enjoy it. And if you hadn't tried drop D before, I hope this will entice you to do it. Thanks a bunch.